Yo, this is BJ Gaddour on behalf of Koia plant-based protein drinks, my favorite plant-based option, ready to drink for snacks, post-workout, etc. And I'm bringing you the Koia Cool Down, pretty much like an ultimate post-workout template to help accelerate recovery, decompress, de-stress, wind down, great after exercise or before bed for more restful sleep. So we're gonna show a combination of foam rolling and mobilization drills for what I think is most high priority areas. People that have back pain, knee pain, that sit a lot during the day, these are great drills to incorporate, and then we'll talk about protein intake afterwards. So in terms of foam rolling, the main purpose of foam rolling is not to break up scar tissue or anything else like that. It's to go into areas that are really sore, tender, and tight and take tension out of those muscle groups and also bring blood flow. So it's not gonna be alone the solution for tight areas, but in conjunction with the self-massage and then adding the mobilization drills on top of that, you can actually get some great benefits. So let's go after the glutes and the quads. Glutes for more of a back pain emphasis, and then quads for more of a knee pain emphasis, and then we'll do some mobilizations that are great to follow up these foam rolling drills. So the glute, if you have tension in the glutes, and this happens a lot when you sit during the day or you work them hard from things like squats, deadlifts, etc., swings, they tighten up on you, they can cause piriformis syndrome, sciatica, that kind of burning, numbing pain down the leg, and then also just creates tension in the low back. So we're gonna try to dig into that area, apply as much of your body weight pressure as possible, play around with the angles you use as well. Sometimes actually taking that top leg and getting into that, what's called pigeon stretch in yoga, is really great to get into your hip rotators, lateral glutes. Those babies tighten up big time, and you wanna spend 2 to 5 minutes on each side opening up that area, all right? In terms of the quad, all right, so when you look at areas you're trying to hit, you look above and below the joints in question. You have back pain, below is the glute, right? You have knee pain, above is the quad, below is the calf. We'll just focus on the quad aspect, but it's usually the adjacent muscle groups, tightness and tension in those areas that actually contribute to stress on the surrounding joints. So in terms of the quad, we can go outer and mid quad on this, but a basic kind of sweeping in and out. If you want more pressure, you can stack the leg. And it's not just about rolling, it's actually finding the tender spots and then applying movement with your body weight just sinking into these hot spots. That's how you actually create change in the tissues, all right? I would do that all the way from just above the knee to below the hip and then coming forward more. If you ever suffer from front knee pain, usually that middle quad is the culprit. So getting on that spot, smashing side to side, adding some smashing up down, but also just getting right in the spot and then flexing and extending on that spot is my favorite way to kind of break up that middle quad tightness that causes front knee pain, all right? So you do 2 to 5 minutes on each side there. So that could be as long as you need. You need at least 2 minutes on these drills to really open things up and relax them, especially if they're really tight and sore. So, and the same thing when I was talking about the glutes, if I wanted to add motion on the glute there, I can go like this. I can play around with more of a flexed hip position, all right? So there's really no right or wrong way. You're trying to find all the hot spot trigger point areas and then loosen them up for at least 2 minutes on each side. So that foam rolling kind of gets blood into the tissue, relaxes the tissue. It actually is great to do before you do the mobility drills. You actually find more motion, more range of motion will come from it now that the muscles are more pliable and warm. So my favorite stretch for knee pain and also back pain is what I call the quad hip flexor or the Bulgarian split squat stretch. It's a movement, it's actually the bottom of that exercise. And I want to get this foot as close to my body as possible, pull my ribs and shoulders down, crunch the abs, clench that back glute. And I'm breathing through my belly. I can add rotation. I can add a lateral side bend and tie in the whole hip flexor, complex lats. Just really open up the entire region, all while keeping the ribs and shoulders down, abs engaged. I don't want any motion through my low back. I'm actually trying to stretch the hips, not my low back, to take pressure off my low back and my knees. All right, I can even add some motion like this. I can hinge, add a rotation through the upper back. So I would spend basically 2 to 5 minutes on this side and then switch. That's more quad, hip flexor, stretch emphasis. Great if you sit a lot because those muscles tighten up. And you want to combine that with what I call the elevated pigeon stretch. So what we're going to do here is elevate ourselves onto a box, bench, chair, tabletop, kitchen counter. My wife does not like that, but look, use what you can. And I put that back, top leg up, and it just, especially taller, bigger individuals, you get more leverage. easier to spend more time in this position, 2 to 5 minutes each side. I get the leg at about a 90-degree angle. If that bothers the knee a little bit in the joint line, just bring that foot a little bit closer. And that's a way to kind of modify that, to just play around with what's comfortable. But all I'm gonna do is spend 2 to 5 minutes just oscillating in this position. I can go more foot side, I can go more knee side. I actually like to really add rotation through what's called your thoracic spine or upper back. Again, all of our mobilizations are trying to keep a still, neutral, lower back position and add rotation and movement through the hips and the upper back. So stiff and still here, loose and mobile here. That's the key to health, performance, athleticism. Deep belly breaths, making sure we don't want to elevate the chest. If we breathe through our chest, we actually elevate the shoulders and ribs and lose good core positioning. So think about doing a crunch or a plank on all of these movements. Great for stretching the hip rotators, especially if you find yourself to be someone who walks a lot like this. That means that these areas are tight, and this is a great stretch to do. So this can take 20 minutes if you use the high end of these prescriptions in terms of 2 to 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes. You could also just say, I'm just going to do the quad roll and the quad stretch, or the glute roll and the glute stretch, or you can do all of them combined into one. And that's the best approach, I think. If I had to pick 2 stretches that can help people get out of back and knee pain, improve performance, and deal with what it's like being a desk jockey during the day, it would be those. Protein intake. So I'm a huge fan of these because a lot of people have issues with dairy, and it's a delicious, complete plant protein option. Protein intake. A lot of people have thought over the years you have to get your protein right after your workout. All the latest research shows that the timing is less important than the overall amount you get during the day. And the best protein practices, according to the latest research, is getting at least 30 to 40 grams of complete protein every 3 to 4 hours, ideally 3 to 4 times a day. So that is how you want to space it out. If you just, if your last meal was a couple hours ago and you just worked out, within an hour or two, you want to get about 30 to 40 grams of protein. That would be 2 of these Koias, or 1 of the Koia, and then another supplemental protein source that gets you to as close to 40 grams as possible is the best way to jumpstart muscle recovery. And any more than that isn't necessarily bad. It's just not going to help the recovery or growth process. There's a threshold of protein you've got to hit, and anything after that is just additional protein your body won't really utilize or need to get the result. So these are my favorite ways to help with recovery. The final thing I'll mention, and this is just a great way if you're just looking to kind of wind down, especially before bed or post-exercise when you've jacked yourself up, all this recovery stuff, the foam rolling, the mobility work, it shifts you from that sympathetic fight or flight kind of your dying response from your workout or from a really stressful workday to parasympathetic, which means rest, digest, relax. Brings yourself down. So what we're going to do is elevate the legs. Great for the lymphatic system, clearing inflammation in the body. And then spend 5 to 10 minutes inhaling through the nose, holding the breath slightly, exhaling through the mouth, relaxing the whole system. And then when you come back up after 5 to 10 minutes of that, by the way, go slowly, especially if you're new to that. Some people get a little vertigo initially. Take your time, come up nice and slow. But when you come back up too, not only do we help get inflammation out of the body, especially the lower body, standing a lot, doing a lot of exercise during the day, but you send fresh blood back down to your legs. You go more rest, digest, recovery. These are the strategies I use all the time with myself, my clients. Combine that with Koia plant protein, and you're ready to go. Peace.